If you take a minute and truly consider it, you will notice something remarkable. You are bearing within you a treasure that nobody else in the history of this earth has ever possessed, nor will ever possess again. It is your soul's fingerprint. And I'm not just talking about the pattern on your hand, I'm talking about the essence of who you are. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you laugh, the way you love, the way you dream, the way you've walked through fire and come out the other side. No one else has lived your life, and no one else ever will. That is why you are absolutely irreplaceable. You see, world conditions us. If you take a minute and actually think about it, you'll discover something phenomenal. You are holding within you a present that nobody else in the existence of this world has had, nor will ever have again. It's the one of a kind fingerprint of your soul. And I don't just mean the design on your hand. I mean the nature of who you are, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you laugh, the way you love, the way you dream, the way you've walked through fire and survived. Nobody else has lived your life, and nobody else ever will. That is why you are truly irreplaceable. You see, world tends to make us forget this fact. When we are young, we are encouraged to compare ourselves with others. We are advised, be like him, or do it like she does. But what if I informed you the biggest tragedy of comparison is that it blinds you to your own brilliance? You're not here to be a duplicate of somebody else. You're here to be the one of a kind version of you that will ever be. Considerate of more than 8 billion living people today and billions more who've lived before, there has never been a duplicate you. That's not coincidence. That's design. Let me illustrate. Have you ever been in someone's presence and thought, wow, there's just something about them that lights up the room? Perhaps they weren't the brightest bulb in the box. Perhaps they weren't the most successful according to the measurements of society. But their energy, their presence, the way they showed up, they shifted the vibe, fingerprint of their soul in action. And here's the thing, you have that very same power. Your presence, when you're just living as yourself, influences people in ways you can't even quantify. The error we tend to fall into is believing our value is linked to accomplishments, material possessions, or titles. Those are things that can be taken away, they can be substituted. But your soul, your spirit, can't be copied. You might lose everything, the job, the house, the money, but if you're still alive, then you have within you something that no power on earth can copy. That is power. That is freedom. Now, few of you may be thinking, but Tony, I don't feel special. I feel normal. I feel like anyone could do what I do. That's the deception. That's the conditioning speaking. Here's the truth. Nobody else has walked your same path. Nobody else has your memories, your wounds, your laughter, your tears. Even if two people do the same thing, they do it differently. You define life in your own way. That meaning, that interpretation you give belongs only to you. That's what makes you inimitable. Consider the lives you've touched without knowing it. The smile you shared with a stranger that brightened their day. The support you offered a friend when they were about to quit. The advice you shared with your child that will echo into generations to come. You may not remember those moments, but they matter. And no one else could have given them in the way you did. That's the fingerprint of your soul in action. So the next time you're about to think you don't matter, I want you to remember this: your existence isn't an accident. You are not a placeholder. You are not a character in the background of someone else's narrative. You are the only you this world will ever know. And what that means is that you're holding something worth infinitely more than anything the world has to offer, something the world desperately needs, even when you can't quite see it yourself. When you completely step into this truth, when you stop attempting to fit into someone else's picture and instead step all the way into the authority of your own one, of a kind fingerprint, you become unstoppable. You cease living small. You cease apologizing for your own self. And you begin to show up in a manner that shifts not merely your own life, but the lives of all those you meet. Because the truth is this: no one else can sing your song. No one else can carry your light. And the day you truly believe that, you will understand why you are and always will be irreplaceable. Single one of us has a story, and that story is not just words on a page. It's the very fabric of who we are. It's the late nights you thought you couldn't make it through but did. It's the brokenness that destroyed you but awakened you to love more intensely than you ever thought possible. It's the failures you believed defined you till you learned they were merely stepping stones to the next chapter. That's your story, and it matters more than you know. You see, most people don't see the power of their story. They believe, who would care? Life isn't special. I'm just ordinary. But here's the truth. Your story is your superpower. Why? Because nobody else has tread exactly the path you have. Nobody else has experienced exactly the emotions you've experienced in exactly the moments you lived them. Your story is what made you. It's what instilled your perspective. It's what chiseled the strength in your character, and that makes it priceless. Consider the individuals who motivate you. It is likely what inspires you isn't their achievement, it's their narrative. It's the obstacles they overcame, the doubts they had to overcome, the battles they fought and won. We don't resonate with people's perfection. We resonate with their humanity, and your narrative, the authentic one, raw, unedited, full of twists and turns, is the highway that bridges you with others. But the thing is, so many people conceal their story. They're embarrassed about it, believe the dark pages exclude them. But it doesn't. Those dark pages are what make your story strong. Consider this: if you only had wins, successes, and flawless moments, no one would identify with you. When you've been through pain, when you've faced loss, when you've stood at the edge of giving up and still moved forward, that's when people lean in and listen. When your story gives them hope for their own. I'm going to share something I've learned from working with people all over the globe for decades. People don't remember facts, they remember narratives. Narrative touches the heart, not the head, and that implies your experiences. The highs, the lows, the epiphanies, the meltdowns, they aren't about you. They're about to be shared, because they can change someone else's life. So the real question is, how do you perceive your story? Do you view it as a burden or as a gift? Do you lock it away, or do you let it serve to empower others? When you claim your story, when you own it completely, without shame, without apology, you take hold of the truth of who you are. Cease to wish that you had someone else's path, and you start to realize that your path, with all its faults, is what makes you unique. And this is the miracle: your story is not done yet. Regardless of whatever has occurred so far, regardless of whatever mistakes, regardless of whatever regrets, this chapter in the here and now, the one you're experiencing, is all that really counts. You decide what significance to place on the past, and you decide what the next chapter looks like. That is the strength of your story. So don't devalue your life. Don't downplay what you've been through. Those joys, all that heartache, all those moments you thought were worthless have been leading up to something greater. When you tell your story, when you live your story, you give permission to others to live theirs. And that is how one life, your life, is going to change the world. Because here's the truth: your story isn't merely about you. Every single person you're supposed to touch, every heart you're supposed to move, every life you're supposed to influence. And that's the reason that your story, your experiences, your journey, very reason why you are irreplaceable. One of the biggest thieves of joy, of fulfillment, of real success is comparison. And I want you to truly listen to this comparison as a lie. It's a trap. It's a never-winning game, because regardless of all you do, regardless of all you accomplish, there's always going to be someone who seems to have more, do more, or be more. And the more you compare, you steal from yourself the gift of being you. Consider this. How many times have you scrolled social media, gazed at someone else's existence, and thought your own wasn't enough? You look at the vacations, cars, perfect smiles, put together careers, and all of a sudden you begin to shrink. You begin to tell yourself, I should be further along by now. I should be just like them. But hear me out. Your viewing isn't the truth, it's the highlight reel. It's the greatest 5 seconds of a person's day uploaded to the internet, while the 99 other seconds, the failures, the insecurities, struggles, are concealed. Comparison blinds you to what is real. It fools you into thinking that your value will be determined by someone else's measurement. But the thing is, your value wasn't ever supposed to be measured up against some other human being. Your value lies in your authenticity. It's in being the real you, not a filtered imitation of somebody else. You are not here to compete with someone else's life. You are here to live your own. And the instant you do that, the instant you stop trying to fit into someone else's idea of who you're supposed to be and instead lean into your own strengths, your own values, your own path, that's the moment you break free. Moment you stop playing small and start living fully. Now, let me get real with you. It's hard to break the habit of comparing. We're programmed from an early age to compete, to compare ourselves to others. School, we're ranked. At sport, we're placed. In society, we're made to believe success is a certain thing. But here's what I want you to hold on to: the oak tree doesn't compare itself to the rose. The sun doesn't compare itself to the stars. They are different and they are beautiful in their own unique way. You're the same. You've got your own rhythm, your own talents, your own path. And when you respect that, you tap into a level of inner peace and ability that comparison could never provide. Let me ask you, what if instead of comparing, you began to celebrate? What if rather than feeling envious, gets it, you used it as evidence of what's available to you? What if you redirected your energy from why them to if they can, so can it? Pivot changes everything. Other people's success no longer becomes threatening and instead becomes inspiring. You release yourself from resentment and move into gratitude. And gratitude, my friends, is the key to real abundance. Authenticity is the cure for comparison. If you come as you are, flaws, quirks, strengths, weaknesses, all of it, you bring the world something genuine. And guess what? World is starving for real. They don't want another perfect, polished picture. They want truth. They want honesty. They want connection. And that only happens when you stop pretending and begin embracing the entirety of who you are. So I challenge you right now, drop the measuring stick. Stop trying to win a race that was never yours to run. The only competition that matters is between who you were yesterday and who you are today. If you can grow, if you can learn, if you can love more deeply, give more freely, authentically than you did yesterday, that is success. Because the world doesn't need another replica of somebody else. The world needs you, the real, unfiltered, unapologetic you. And the moment you stop comparing and begin embracing the truth of that, you enter into your greatest power. You stop seeking validation and begin making a difference. You stop shrinking and begin shining. That's when you learn that being truly yourself isn't merely sufficient, it's everything. Every day, whether you're aware of it or not, your presence makes waves. The words you use, the energy you take into a space, the way you interact with others, it all ripples outward like a stone tossed into the water. And most of us don't even realize how far those ripples actually reach. You might say to yourself, I'm just one individual. What difference can I make? But the truth is, you have no idea how powerful your presence truly is. Consider it. Did you ever have a day where you were stuck, where life was weighing on you, and then somebody smiled at you, looked you in the eye, really, and you felt lighter for a second? Tiny act of being present changed your state, and more likely than not, it didn't go any further than that. You took that energy with you, perhaps treated the next person a little kinder, little more patiently. That's the ripple effect. And the secret is this: the ripple effect isn't limited to grand, history-making deeds. It occurs in the tiniest of moments. Manner in which you address your children in the morning, the tone in which you speak to your spouse, the way in which you greet the cashier at the supermarket. These small decisions don't vanish into nothingness. They compound. They pass on into the world of others in ways you may never know. Now picture this. If you made the choice to be deliberate with the energy you're sending out into the world, what if you chose every space you enter is going to be improved because you entered it? Not that you're perfect, that you're always right, but that you carry a presence that elevates, that inspires, that reminds people they are important. That is not a fantasy. It is a choice. It is a choice accessible to you every single day. You see, too many people live under the illusion that they don't matter. They think their life is small, that their actions don't count. But the truth is, your life is not lived in isolation. You're constantly in connection with others, family, friends, coworkers, strangers. And every connection is an opportunity to create impact. The manner in which you arrive can brighten a person's day, can shift their mindset, can provide them the strength to keep moving. And occasionally, it can save a life. Call one account of a man who was going to take his life. He put in his note, if someone smiles at me today, I won't do it. He went out into the city and no one gave him a glance, smiled except for one stranger. One smile, one act of presence, and everything shifted. That is the ripple effect. And it's occurring all around us all the time. So I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what ripples are you making? When individuals leave an interaction with you, are they feeling seen and valued and empowered? Or do they feel diminished, dismissed? Because whether you know it or not, you're leaving people in a different place than you found them. And when you're aware of that, you begin living with more intention. And here's the lovely paradox when you concentrate on making positive ripples for others, your life grows. The more you share, the more satisfied you become. The more you give back, the more abundant your life is. Because satisfaction doesn't come from what you receive, it comes from what you give. So never underestimate the power of being there. Never speak to yourself and say you don't count. You count more than you realize. The words that you've spoken, the niceness that you've given, the uplift that you've been, it's resonating in lives that you might not even meet. And if you ever wonder, remember this, you don't need to alter the entire world in order to alter someone's world. A smile, a word, a point of connection, that's sufficient to begin a ripple. And those ripples multiplied can lead to waves which change everything. Because the truth is, your presence isn't neither here nor there. It's mighty. And when you decide to take love, kindness, and honesty to every moment, the ripple effect of your life becomes inevitable. If you take a moment and really think about it, the moments that defined you the most weren't easy ones. Weren't the days when everything seemed to go as planned, when life was effortless, when you were in your comfort zone. No. Those moments that cut the deepest into your soul, the ones that defined you, were the struggles. Those times that you were taken to your knees and your mind was screaming, I don't know if I can do this. And yet you did. It's simple to think that hardship makes us weak. Suffering indicates there's something wrong with us. But the reality is hardship is not your punishment. It's your gift. It's the very thing that builds your strength, your resilience, your empathy, your courage. Without challenge, you'd never know how powerful you are. Consider the best leaders, the most inspiring individuals you've ever known. Do they inspire you because everything had been easy for them? Of course not. They inspire you because they experienced difficulty and still succeeded. They endured pain and yet were able to give. They encountered setbacks, failures, breaks. And rather than being destroyed, they were made stronger. Their struggle was their tale, and their tale became their gift. And the same is true of you. The very difficulties you regret that you have to endure, the loss, the rejection, the betrayal, the disappointment, those are the things that have equipped you to do what you're here to do. They've given you empathy, they've given you wisdom, they've given you a resilience you never would have discovered if life was simple. I know at times it can feel as if your struggles disqualify you. They make you less. But listen to me, your struggles don't disqualify you. They equip you. They make you irreplaceable because no one else has experienced exactly what you've experienced in the exact way that you have and emerged with the lessons that you've learned. That singularity, that hard-earned wisdom, is what makes your presence in this world so valuable. Reflect on a moment when you were able to assist someone through their suffering. I bet the reason that you were able to console them is that you had journeyed through something comparable yourself. You were not offering them theory. You were offering them lived experience. And that's the strength of adversity. It converts your wounds into wisdom, your pain into purpose, your scars into signposts, leading others. Now, let me be direct. Struggle isn't enjoyable. It hurts. It breaks you open. But when you decide to look at it not as something done to you, but as something done for you, the game changes. Instantly, your challenges become teachers. They become chances to grow into who you're supposed to become. They become the raw material that, if you work with it, can construct a life of more impact and significance than you ever dreamed. You've likely heard the saying, demons are made under pressure. It's a fact. Without the heat, without the pressure, struggle, that diamond doesn't exist. And it is the same with your struggles. Your struggles are cutting you into the diamond of who you are. They're polishing you, refining you, readying you for your purpose. So the next time you find yourself in the midst of a challenge, I want you to remember this. You're not getting broken. You're getting built. You're not getting punished. You're getting prepared. And the strength, the resilience, the empathy that you build as a result, that's part of your irreplaceable gift to the world. Because there is someone out there who is waiting for the knowledge you've gained from your suffering. Someone must hear your tale to understand they're not alone, to be reminded that if you made it through, they can as well. And that's why your struggles, though they hurt, aren't in vain. They're holy. They're molding you into the person you were meant to become. And that's why you, with all your scars, all your wars, with all your triumphs hard fought and hard won, are irreplaceable. One of the most profound things I know about life is this: happiness doesn't come from what you get, comes from what you give. You can do, you can have, you can attain every dream you've ever had. But if it all concludes with you, you'll always be left wondering that something is lacking. Why? You were created not only to consume, but to give back. You were created to leave some part of yourself in this world that no one else can. And here's the magic: your contribution doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't even have to hit headlines, but it must be yours, because only you can bring what you have to offer. Only you can bring your one of a kind mix of experiences, talents, point of view, and love to the table. No one else has lived your life. No one else has your particular strengths. No one else perceives the world as you do. And that's why your contribution cannot be replaced. Most people believe that contribution is giving millions of dollars or creating a worldwide movement, but contribution occurs in daily moments. It's the way you listen without judging. It's the way you build up someone when they've lost confidence in themselves. It's how you give back your ideas, your creativity, your heart. It may be as easy as mentoring one, raising a kid, taking care of a parent, or being present for a friend. Don't take those small acts for granted, because to the recipient, they're not small at all. I'll illustrate. You're going for a walk and you pass someone sitting by themselves, head in their hands, looking defeated. You pause for a second, nod to them, perhaps even say something nice. You might not remember the incident tomorrow, but to them, that might be the moment that changes their whole perspective. That's the ripple of contribution, and it's occurring every day, usually in ways you'll never notice. Here's what you're going to remember: contribution isn't what you don't have, it's what you do have. Too many times we think, I can't contribute because I'm not successful enough, rich enough, powerful enough. But contribution doesn't begin when you possess more. It begins when you know you already possess something to contribute. Presence, your history, your insight, your energy, your time. Those are invaluable and they're already in you. And here's the paradox: when you give, you don't lose, you expand. Contribution is one of the greatest sources of joy because it connects you to something larger than yourself. It reminds you that your life has meaning beyond your own needs and desires. In giving that you experience true abundance. So you ask yourself, what is mine to give? Not what the world says you are supposed to give, not what somebody else is giving, but your gift. For some of you, creativity. For others, it's leadership. For some, it's empathy, compassion, the ability to hold space for others. Whatever it is, it's yours for a reason. And when you withhold it, the world goes without something it was meant to have. Because here's the truth: someone out there is waiting for what only you can give. Someone's breakthrough is on the other side of your encouragement. Someone's healing is tied to your story. Someone's vision will only come alive because you believed in them. And if you don't show up, if you don't bring your contribution, that impact will never be created. So don't hold back. Don't say to yourself you're too small, too broken, too unready. Contribution isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about bringing what you've got, where you're at, giving it everything you've got. And when you live like that, when you make your life not about getting, but about giving, you enter a level of fulfillment and purpose that nothing else can match. Because in the end, it's not what you have, it's what you've shared. It's not how many years you're given, but how richly you've given. And that is what makes your life, your gift, your presence, irreplaceable. Most individuals spend their lives ignoring the very things that make them powerful. They downplay their feelings. They doubt their thoughts. They reduce their view. They say to themselves, who am I to feel this way? Who am I to have my opinion? Who am I to believe it matters? And I want to interrupt you there, because your feelings, your thoughts, your viewpoint, those are not weaknesses. Those are not coincidences. Those are part of the treasure chest that makes you one of a kind. Let's begin with feelings. Too often we're instructed that emotions are something to be mastered, concealed, silenced. Emotions, however, are not your enemy. They are your compass. They are signals, messages that point you toward what's most important. Anger tells you where your boundaries are being violated. Sadness indicates where you've lost something of worth. Joy indicates where you're in harmony. Even fear, when you become aware of it, indicates where growth lies waiting. Each feeling is worth something. When you hear them out, rather than resisting them, you learn things about yourself no one else can ever provide, and your thoughts. Do you have any idea how special your mind really is? Billions of individuals have existed in this world, but they don't think like you. No one else links ideas, sees detail, or interprets reality in the very same manner. You may think you take it for granted because you wake up every day inside your own head, but what you observe, how you analyze, how you produce, that is not standard. That is your genius. And genius does not always present itself as solving equations or composing symphonies. Sometimes it looks like knowing how to comfort a child, or how to organize chaos into clarity, how to bring humor into the darkest situation. That's the hidden brilliance of your thoughts. And then there's perspective. Your perspective is shaped by everything you've lived through, every triumph, every mistake, every heartbreak, every breakthrough. No one else has your exact lens on life. And that means your perspective on the world is unique. Consider this. Have you ever had someone say something and suddenly it all made sense? A truth you were blind to until they spoke and opened your eyes. That's the power of perspective. You possess that same gift. Your observations, your manner of constructing reality have the ability to alter someone's life in ways you might not even be aware of. But here's the tragedy. So many people hide these parts of themselves. They mute their emotions, silence their thoughts, downplay their perspective because they're afraid of being judged. What if the very thing you're holding back is the thing someone else desperately needs? What if your vulnerability, your insight, your way of seeing the world is the spark that unlocks someone else's transformation? Let me tell you something, the world does not need more masks. It does not need more pretending to feel nothing, to think nothing, to believe nothing. The world needs real. It needs your real feelings, your real thoughts, your real worldview. That's where we connect. That's where we grow. That's where we change lives. Rather than diminishing yourself, begin to value what you bear. Begin to own the way you feel is real, the way you think is relevant, the way you see is needed. When you claim it, when you cease apologizing for it, you enter your real power. And lo and behold, you're not only living, you're giving. You're providing the world with a state of being, a state of mind, state of sight that no one else can provide. Because at the end of the day, your feelings, your thoughts, your outlook, they are not coincidences. They're your signature, the unseen value that makes you indispensable. And when you adopt them completely, you don't merely alter your own destiny. You are the force that sets change in motion in the destiny of everyone you encounter. Such a tremendous amount of what keeps people from living their full, of a kind life isn't their talent, their assets, or even their prospects. It's their beliefs, the intangible tales they narrate regarding themselves and their worth. I'm going to tell you this, if you don't consciously select those beliefs, the world is going to select them for you. And usually, the world doesn't select very empowering ones. Since the moment you were a kid, you had beliefs fed to you, some from family, some from teachers, some from friends, society, culture, such as you're not intelligent enough, you don't fit in, you're never going to make it. Or perhaps it wasn't outright stated, but it was suggested in the manner in which folks ignored you, doubted you, dismissed you. Instances cut deeply. And if you don't confront them, you begin to live as though they're real. But here's the truth, beliefs are not facts. They're not etched into stone. Just thought patterns you've repeated so many times they feel real. And the great thing about the mind is that what was wired in can also be rewired. You can dismantle the crippling stories that shrink your life and install new ones that enlarge it. Let me illustrate. If you've been weighing the belief, I'm not good enough, what happens? Filter every experience through that belief. You minimize your wins. You exaggerate your failures. You self-sabotage opportunities because secretly you don't feel worthy of them. If you break that pattern and rewire it into a new belief, I am more than enough, your world shifts. You show up differently. You speak differently. You make decisions out of value rather than fear. It is not about blind affirmations. It is about aligning your beliefs with the truth of who you actually are. And the truth is, you already are worthy. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it. Born with it. Your worth is inherent. And the only thing between you and being able to live from that truth is the old programming that says otherwise. So how do you rewire? You begin by paying attention. Catch the old narrative when it arises. Listen to that voice inside your head saying, you can't, you're not ready. Who do you think you are? And don't just take it at face value. Question it. Ask, is this really true? Or is this something I've been holding on to that no longer benefits me? 9 times out of 10, you'll find it's not truth. It's conditioning. Then replace it with something empowering, something that resonates with your value, your purpose, your distinct contribution, and repeat it. Lev it. Take action that supports it, because beliefs don't change with words alone. They change when you couple new thoughts with new actions, new evidence, new experiences. And here's what occurs when you do that. The fog begins to clear. You no longer view yourself as broken, deficient, less than. You start to view yourself in clear sight, worthy, capable, indispensable. And when you view your worth in clear sight, quit accepting less than you deserve. You quit hiding. You quit comparing. You begin showing up whole. That's why it's so important to rewire your beliefs. Because regardless of how much potential you possess, regardless of how special your talents are, if your beliefs are saying you're not good enough, you will never see them unleashed. When you turn the script around, when your beliefs match your truth, you become indestructible. And let me tell you this, your value is not negotiable. It's not about what you do, what you accomplish. Others think about you. It's inside of you. And the minute you begin to believe that, genuinely believe it, you'll begin to live the life you were meant for. There's a time in life when you know that success is not sufficient. You can pursue achievements, send ladders, earn money, garner accolades. But if it's not for the reason that matters to your heart, it's hollow. Purpose is the distinction between a busy life and a meaningful one. And this is the reality. You already possess a purpose. You don't need to search high and low for it like a hidden treasure. You have it within you, waiting to be expressed. But here's the issue. Most individuals aren't living in line with their purpose. They're living in line with expectation, what their parents wanted for them, what society indicated was safe, what fear instructed them was possible. So they wake up every morning, trudge through the day, check the boxes, and ask themselves why they feel empty. It's because quietly in the back of their mind, their soul understands, this isn't what I was meant for. Your job isn't always your purpose, although it can be. It's not always some grand, world-altering mission, although it could be. Purpose is the individual way you're called to serve, how your gifts, your passions, and your story come together to make an impact. For some, it's teaching. For others, it's creating. For others, it's healing, leading, building, loving. Whatever it is, when you do it, you come alive. And when you don't, you sense that you're missing something. And here's alignment power. When your actions align with your purpose, energy flows. You no longer feel like you're dragging a boulder up a hill. Life isn't easy, but it becomes more purposeful. Even the battles feel worth fighting because you know why you're fighting. Grinding, you're growing, you're on a mission. So how do you get in line with your purpose? You begin by asking better questions. Rather than, what should I do? What was I made to give? Rather than, how do I make the most money? Ask, how do I make the deepest impact? Rather than, what do people expect of me? Ask, what makes me come alive? Because here's the thing, what gets you most alive is usually the same thing the world needs most from you. Now, I know there are a few of you thinking, Tony, that sounds fantastic. I have no idea what my purpose is. Let me liberate you from the pressure. You don't need to have it all mapped out today. Undefined purpose isn't always found in one flash of inspiration moment. Usually, it's revealed incrementally as you pursue curiosity, as you listen to what excites you, as you observe where you feel most satisfied. Undefined, and the more you lean in, the more clear your purpose is. Here's the beauty part. When you're living true to your purpose, you give permission to others to do the same. Your bravery at being yourself becomes a blueprint for someone else's breakthrough. You become a living testament that it can be done. And that ripple effect of one person opting for purpose rather than fear, for authenticity over expectation, that's how change ripples out. When you forget your purpose, When you hide it beneath fear or doubt or obligation, the world misses out on something it was supposed to get. That's why living on purpose isn't merely about your own happiness. It's about your contribution. It's about the lives you're supposed to touch, the change you're supposed to create, legacy you're supposed to leave behind. So I want you to ask yourself, now are you living on purpose or living somebody else's blueprint for your life? And if the answer frightens you, good, because that's where transformation starts. You don't have to change your life in an instant. You just have to take one step, one thing today that is more in alignment with your purpose than yesterday was. Ultimately, purpose isn't something you discover, it's something you decide. It's that moment of saying, I will no longer live in misalignment with who I am. I will no longer mute my calling. I will live in accordance with what I was meant to do. And when you make that choice, when you live in alignment with your purpose, you don't just exist, you come alive, you inspire, you become unstoppable. That's when your life doesn't just become successful, but meaningful.